When you hear Cleopatra, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably, the seductive queen, maybe Elizabeth Taylor, the big romance with Mark Antony. It's this huge legend, isn't it?
It really is. But the actual history,
Yeah.
the life she lived, it's so much more complex and frankly more interesting than just the myths.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yep, we're going deep on Cleopatra VII Theophilopater. She was the last active Hellenistic pharaoh of Egypt. Our mission here is to cut through all that pop culture stuff, dig into a whole stack of sources, and really pull out the key insights. Who she really was as a ruler, her political smarts, and the huge impact she had.
Basically, we want to give you the shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about this extraordinary woman.
Exactly.
And we've pulled together quite a range of material for this.
Oh, definitely. We're looking at ancient Roman historians,
Yeah.
guys like Plutarch, Cassius Dio, their accounts, which often have, let's say, a Roman slant.
Right, the victors writing history sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But also literature from the time, plus fascinating bits from Egypt itself. Things like coinage, even actual surviving papyrus documents.
So it's a rich mix, sometimes contradictory, but we'll piece it together for you.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Forget the myths for a second. Who was she?
Well, her full name was Cleopatra VII, Thea Philopater. It translates to something like Cleopatra, father-loving goddess.
And her background is crucial. She wasn't ethnically Egyptian, she was Macedonian Greek. Her family, the Ptolemaic dynasty, they were descended directly from Ptolemy I Soter, one of Alexander the Great's top generals. So Greek rulers ruling Egypt.
That Greek heritage is absolutely central, right? She's operating in that Hellenistic tradition.
Completely. Balancing being a Greek queen in this ancient Egyptian land. But here's what makes her really stand out. Her first language was Koine Greek, like the rest of her family. But unlike any other Ptolemaic ruler we know of, she actually learned Egyptian.
Wow.
And not just Egyptian. Accounts suggest she might have also spoken Ethiopian, Hebrew or Aramaic, Arabic, Syrian, Median, Parthian, maybe even Latin.
That's incredible linguistic skill. I mean, was that just a party trick, or did she actually use that politically?
Oh, it was absolutely strategic. Speaking Egyptian let her connect with her people in a way none of her ancestors had. Imagine the loyalty they could build. And think about diplomacy. Talking to foreign envoys in their own language, that gives you a huge edge in negotiations. It was definitely part of her plan to regain lost territories.
Makes perfect sense. And her education really laid the groundwork for that kind of mind, didn't it?
Absolutely. She was tutored by Philostratos' Greek philosophy, rhetoric, the art of argument, and she almost certainly spent time at the Great Library of Alexandria.
That library, I mean, what kind of edge did having access to that level of knowledge give her? More than just books, right?
Oh, way more. It was the intellectual center of the world back then. Science, philosophy, strategy is all being discussed and debated there. That kind of environment sharpens your thinking, gives you a deep understanding of the world, of politics, probably even administration. She wasn't just born a queen, she was intellectually equipped for it.
Okay, so let's set the stage a bit more. Egypt's relationship with Rome. It was already pretty complicated by the time she came along.
Very complicated. Rome was the rising power, and Egypt was, well, often caught in its shadow. There was intervention even before her. Her grandfather, Ptolemy the Vex, and later Ptolemy the Ipe, they'd actually sort of mortgaged the kingdom to Rome for loans. Gave Rome a legal pretext if they ever wanted one.
And her own father, Ptolemy XII, Alcestis, he was heavily reliant on Roman money and protection. It really defined his reign, didn't it?
It did, big time. Things got really dramatic in 58 BC. Rome annexed Cyprus, which was ruled by her father's brother. That brother, Ptolemy of Cyprus, he killed himself rather than face exile. And Cleopatra's father, he stayed quiet about it publicly, huge blow to his credibility back home.
And wasn't he exiled shortly after? Had to go crawling to Rome for help?
Exactly. He ended up seeking aid from Pompey, one of Rome's big players at the time.
And Cleopatra, she might have been quite young then, maybe around 11, possibly living near Rome with her exiled father.
It's very likely. And imagine what that would do. Seeing Roman power up close, seeing her father's dependence, it probably taught her a hard lesson about real politics. You needed Rome, but you couldn't afford to be just their puppet. It must have sharpened her instincts incredibly early.
So fast forward to 51 BC, she takes the throne. What's waiting for her?
A mess, basically. A huge famine because the Nile floods failed. Lawlessness from Roman soldiers left behind, the Gabiniani they were called.
Right, Gabinius's old troops.
Yeah, and a massive debt to Rome, something like 17.5 million drachmas. Plus, she's supposed to co-rule with her younger brother, Ptolemy III.
That whole sibling marriage thing, a Ptolemaic tradition, but still seems strange to us.
It was tradition for them, though maybe not loved by everyone. But Cleopatra wasn't content to share power for long. She moved to rule alone, and boom, civil war.
And just as things heat up in Egypt, Rome's own civil war spills over.
Precisely. 48 BC, Pompey, fresh off his defeat by Julius Caesar at Pharsalus, he flees to Egypt looking for safety.
And this is where Ptolemy XIII's advisors make a spectacularly bad call.
Yeah. Trying to impress Caesar, they decide to assassinate Pompey, chop off his head, embalm it, and send it to Caesar like some kind of trophy.
How did Caesar react to that?
Not well. He was apparently horrified, maybe even grieved. It was an insult to Roman dignity, killing a Roman consul like that. So instead of being impressed, Caesar demands Cleopatra and her brothers stop fighting and reconcile. He's asserting Roman authority.
Which leads to maybe the most famous entrance in history.
Possibly. Cleopatra needed to get to Caesar, but her brother's forces controlled the harbor. She tried sending messages. But then, well, Cassius Dio says she just charmed him with her wit. But Plutarch gives us the more dramatic story smuggled inside a bed sack or maybe a carpet roll carried right into Caesar's presence.
What a move. Audacious. Did it work?
Totally. It bypassed her brother's guards, got her direct personal access to Caesar. She could plead her own case, use her intellect, her charisma. A brilliant gamble.
So Caesar steps in. He decides they should rule jointly, like their father's will said. He even tries to sideline their younger siblings, Arsinoe and another Ptolemy, by offering them Cyprus.
But Ptolemy XIII's supporters, especially those Gabiniani troops, they saw this as Caesar favoring Cleopatra. So they besiege the palace. Caesar and Cleopatra are trapped inside together.
Then Caesar gets reinforcements. There's the Battle of the Nile.
And Ptolemy III drowns trying to escape. End of that rivalry.
And soon after, Cleopatra is pregnant with Caesarion, born around 47 BC.
Yes. And while Caesar never officially acknowledged the boy in Rome, Cleopatra made it very clear Caesarion was his son. Hugely political statement, linking her dynasty to Rome's strongman.
Then she actually goes to Rome, right, between 46 and 44 BC with her other brother, Ptolemy XIV, who's now her nominal co-ruler.
She does. Stays in Caesar's villa outside the city. Caesar officially names them friends and allies of the Roman people, basically client rulers.
But she rubbed some people the wrong way. Cicero, for example.
Yes, Cicero famously found her arrogant. But maybe that was intentional. A queen projecting power, not just a meek client.
It's interesting, though, that connection wasn't just political. So Sigenes of Alexandria, one of her scholars.
Right. He helped Caesar reform the calendar, the Julian calendar that we basically still use. It shows the intellectual power of her court. Egypt still had a lot to offer Rome beyond just grain.
And Caesar really promoted her image in Rome, didn't he? That golden statue in the Temple of Venus Genetrix.
Huge deal. Linking her, mother of his son, directly to Venus, the mythical ancestor of Caesar's family, and subtly blending her with the Egyptian goddess Isis. It's weaving her into the fabric of Rome itself.
Her time in Rome also overlapped with that strange Lupercalia festival incident, Antony trying to put a crown on Caesar's head.
Yeah, likely a staged event. Testing the waters, you know. See how Romans felt about the idea of Caesar becoming more like a king, a Hellenistic-style monarch?
How did that go down?
Badly. Among traditionalists like Cicero, anyway. Romans were deeply suspicious of kings.
Then, March 44 BC, Caesar is assassinated. Cleopatra has to leave Rome.
She hoped Caesarion might be named his heir, but that wasn't happening. Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew, was the chosen one.
And shortly after she gets back to Egypt, her brother husband, Ptolemy IV, dies. Conveniently.
Very conveniently. Poisoned, allegedly by Cleopatra. We can't know for sure, but it removed another obstacle. She immediately elevates young Caesarion to be her co-ruler.
Consolidating power again. Okay, so that chapter closes. Enter Mark Antony.
Right. After Caesar's death, Rome plunges back into civil war. Cleopatra smartly sides with the winners, the Second Triumvirate, Octavian, Antony, and Lepidus.
And her meeting with Antony in Tarsos in 41 BC, that's legendary stuff too.
Oh yeah, she sails up the river Cydnus on this incredible barge, the Phalamagos, throws these unbelievably lavish parties for Antony and his officers.
Love at first sight, or pure politics.
Probably a mix. Hard to say, but she definitely used the opportunity. She convinced Antony to execute her exiled sister, Arsinoe IV, who was living in Ephesus. Ruthless pragmatism.
Their alliance became incredibly important. Antony needed her wealth, her resources.
Especially for his campaigns against Parthia, yeah. Egypt was rich, and Cleopatra controlled that wealth. He relied on her for money, ships, grain.
And they had children together.
3 more. First, the twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene II, then later Ptolemy Philadelphus.
Those names, Helios for sun, Selene for moon, that sounds ambitious.
Very ambitious, portraying themselves almost as cosmic rulers, founders of a new dynasty, maybe?
And then came the donations of Alexandria in 34 BC. What exactly happened there?
Antony held this huge staged ceremony, almost like a Roman triumph, but in Alexandria. He declared Caesarion the true son of Caesar and hailed Cleopatra as Queen of Kings. And then this was the really explosive part. He declared their own children rulers over vast territories. Armenia, Media, Parthia, Syria, Crete. Lands that were either Roman or supposed Roman allies.
Wow, that sounds like treason from a Roman perspective.
Exactly how Octavian spun it in Rome. He launched this massive propaganda campaign. Antony was bewitched, enslaved by this foreign sorceress. This is where you get stories like Cleopatra dissolving a priceless pearl in vinegar just to win a bet, designed to make her seem decadent, alien, dangerous.
But amidst all that high drama, we have this amazing little piece of reality, that papyrus from 33 BC.
Isn't that incredible? It's some sort of official decree, maybe about tax privileges for someone.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, in Greek, it says, "Ginistushi, let it be done," or so be it. Believed to be Cleopatra's own handwriting.
And it has a spelling mistake.
It does. A tiny little error. It makes her seem suddenly very human, doesn't it? A working ruler, signing documents, maybe a bit rushed.
It really does. Okay, so the propaganda war heats up. Octavian needs a final confrontation.
And he plays it very cleverly. He gets the Senate to declare war, but not on Antony, on Cleopatra.
Making it about Rome versus a dangerous foreign queen, not another Roman civil war.
Exactly. Much easier to sell to the Roman public and legions.
Which brings us to the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, the big naval showdown.
Yep, off the coast of Greece. It was messy, chaotic. At a key moment, Cleopatra's squadron of 60 ships broke through the blockade and sailed south.
Roman accounts later called this desertion, right? That she panicked and fled.
That was the spin. But it's more likely it was a pre-planned strategy, maybe to break out, save the treasury, and regroup to defend Egypt. Antony saw her leave and followed with his own ships.
But the battle was lost for them regardless.
Decisively lost. Their remaining forces surrendered. It was the beginning of the end.
And the end itself is just tragic. Antony hears a false report that Cleopatra is dead.
And falls on his sword. He doesn't die immediately, though. He's taken to Cleopatra, who has barricaded herself in her mausoleum, and dies in her arms.
She then tries to negotiate with Octavian.
She does. But Octavian mainly wants her alive to parade in his triumph back in Rome. She knows this. There's even a story that one of his diplomats, Thyrsos, subtly suggested she should arrange Antony's death to save herself. Chilling stuff.
But she wasn't going to be paraded through Rome.
No way. Her famous quote, reportedly, was, "I will not be led in a triumph."
So her death, August 12th, 30 BC, age 39. The asp story is most famous.
It is. The Egyptian cobra, symbol of royalty, smuggled in with figs, but other ancient sources mention poison she might have kept in a hairpin or an ointment. Plutarch mentions 2 small puncture marks found on her arm, which fits the snakebite theory, but it's not definitive. What matters is she chose her own end.
And Caesarion, her son with Caesar.
Octavian couldn't risk a rival claimant with Caesar's blood. He had the young man hunted down and killed. The quote attributed to his advisor, Arrius Didymus, is brutal. It is not good to have too many Caesars.
And with that, the Ptolemaic dynasty ends, the Hellenistic age ends, Egypt becomes just another Roman province.
The end of an era, quite literally, but her legacy, it didn't just vanish.
What happened to her other children, the ones with Antony?
They were taken to Rome, paraded in Octavian's triumph, actually, but then raised by Octavia, Antony's loyal Roman wife, and Octavian's sister.
Wow, Octavia raised them.
Yes. Cleopatra Selene II, the daughter, she eventually married King Juba II of Mauritania, a client kingdom in North Africa. She seems to have been quite influential, bringing Alexandrian culture there.
And she named her son Ptolemy, keeping the dynasty's name alive.
She did. This Ptolemy of Mauritania ruled after Juba, becoming the last known descendant of the Ptolemaic line, until the Emperor Caligula had him executed, sadly.
So the line did eventually end, but her image, shaped so much by Roman writers.
Plutarch, Dio, Josephus, even Cicero's comments, they often focus on her charm, her wit, her powerful personality, maybe more than her looks, which itself is interesting.
Why do you think they focus so much on that charm, often framing it negatively as manipulation?
Well, again, Octavian's propaganda needed her to be the dangerous seductress who led Antony astray. Praising her political skill wouldn't fit that narrative. But even her critics couldn't deny her intelligence and charisma. You see hints of her strength even in hostile sources.
And we see her image in ancient art, too, right? Statues,
Yeah,
coins.
yeah, the statue Caesar put up is gone, but we have descriptions. Coins often show her with quite strong features, sometimes almost masculine, maybe to project authority or match Antony's profile, different from later, more idealized busts. There are even frescoes from Pompeii that some think might depict her, maybe as Venus with Caesarion as Cupid, blending her into Roman myth even visually.
And then her afterlife in culture, it's just immense.
Absolutely. Chaucer in the Middle Ages, then the Renaissance, Handel's opera Julio Cesar, Shakespeare, obviously, with Antony Cleopatra, and then countless films, books, even branding today. She remains iconic.
It's easy to forget she was also a practical ruler. You mentioned administrative acts, naval command.
Right. And there are even ancient medical texts that attribute remedies to her for hair loss.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, perfume soaps. It suggests a hands-on ruler interested in various aspects of her kingdom, including perhaps science and cosmetics, far more than just a romantic figurehead.
Definitely. So, summing it all up, it's an incredible story. A young queen inherits this kingdom on the brink, deep in debt under Rome's thumb.
And she navigates it with, frankly, astonishing skill. Allies herself with the most powerful men in the world, challenges the might of Rome itself.
And ultimately shapes the course of history, even in defeat. Her actions directly led to the end of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire under Augustus.
Her story is just such a powerful reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
History is often written by the winners. The narratives we inherit are shaped.
Absolutely. So recognizing the layers of propaganda, the conflicting views in her story, how does that make you think differently about the stories we're told about powerful figures today or from any time? Something to ponder.